everyone, I am Ricky and welcome to today's edition of the Mouse Bites. Now, the Mouse Bites are your latest Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, and Universal Orlando news. And it's not been as long since we last saw each other, so that's good news. Looks like it's just been a week or so, I like this at least, like it's not been a month or something like that. It's only been a week, but I have news today on what Walt Disney World and Disneyland might look like when the parks reopen due to the coronavirus closure. Now, this comes from Disney Parks Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Pamela Heimel. And she shared on the Disney Parks blog some of the considerations and the plans that Disney is looking at for the reopening of the theme parks and the resorts. So, some of the things that may be utilized moving down the road include things like phased reopenings. Now, Disney may utilize a gradual reopening and or a partial reopening of certain locations to start with. For example, the opening of retail and dining locations prior to the opening of the theme parks. Now, of course, this would include something like a Disney Springs or a downtown Disney district at the Disneyland Resort. So we may see something like that start the reopening, and then Disney will move along with other reopenings from there. They will also be taking into mind physical distancing and capacity measures. Now, Disney will be taking a closer look at things like queues, restaurants, hotels, ride vehicles, and other facilities throughout the park and across the resort to ensure that physical distancing guidelines will be able to be implemented and adhered to based on guidance from health authorities like the CDC. Now, this will likely include implementation of guest capacity measures to comply with state and federal guidelines. In addition, technology may play an important part in keeping guests physically distanced, such as things like the Play Disney Parks app, as well as things like virtual queues at Disneyland and Walt Disney World. So it looks like the virtual queuing system may be here to stay as we move forward. You know, it worked well. They had practiced it a lot with Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. So now it looks like, oddly enough, it might have been fortuitous that they were testing that system prior to the parks actually closing. So we'll see how things look moving forward from there. They'll also be taking a look at the cleanliness and sanitization of the parks. Now, there will, of course, be an increased focus on these two measures, cleaning and disinfection, and Disney is working to determine where this increased focus should take place, as well as what cleaning products and processes should be used to keep things as clean as possible. There will also be screening and prevention support. Now, guidance from the government and the medical community regarding the enhanced screening procedures and prevention measures will be followed. These include things that are like personal protective equipment, such as face coverings. And some of these measures have also already been implemented at the parks and resorts, like adding hand sanitizers and hand washing stations. Now, of course, these are things that we haven't seen. However, employees, cast members who may be working right now may be utilizing these as we move forward. These things will definitely be more involved. There will also be more cast training. Now, health and safety, of course, is Disney's #1 priority, and new training will be provided to cast members prior to reopening the parks so that everybody is as safe as possible. Now, other guidelines were recently shared via the Orange County Economic Task Force, and they can be found on the Mouse for Less in our news section. So those will be additional measures that will need to be put in place, and those have been put in place by an agency, and you can check those out on the Mouse for Less. Like I said, those include things for like the hotels and restaurants and things of that nature that will need to be adhered to as well. Now, while these guidelines were released via Disney, there was no word on when Walt Disney World or Disneyland will reopen, and we will make sure to pass that information along to you as we learn it. That's going to do it for all the news that I have for you today. Make sure you follow along with the Mouse for Less on all of our social sites. So you've got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest. And otherwise, we'll see you the next time on the Mouse Bites. Have a great day, everyone.